18 to 15 years ago, I used to drive through Lembah Pantai, and I could not help noticing the many pigeonholes apartments sprouting out of the ground. Now, the views are somewhat unfamiliar. The happy Gerai owners are no longer there. These places are now replaced by liquor bars and cafes and restaurants, all of which are above the affordability of the many thousands flat residents. Thus, the presence of tall condominiums surrounded by glittering and shimmering lights, presence of awesome cafes, F&Bs, tell us all the residents here in Lembah Pantai have arrived. Are they now successful, wealthy and affluent? The answer is both yes and no. Masjid AJk Treasurer Haji Hashim and the mosque AJk Hajjah Nor Hayati welcome and thank Yayasan Pillar team for its contribution and engagement with the city poor from the tiny flats at Pantai Dalam. Yayasan Pillar volunteers preparing for iftar at Siti Khadijah Mosque. The menu of breaking of the fast is simple. The volunteers prepared rice, chicken, fish, vegetable, and soup as main. For drinks, there were soya bean, barley, and sugar cane. Dessert were cakes and dates. Bless her soul, the late Siti Khadijah provided the venue for local Muslim community whom majority live in flats to leave their tiny holes, even if it is momentarily. At the open and clean environment of the mosque, which Siti Khadijah helped to pay half of its construction costs, the flat residents pray and maintain goodwill with each other. Siti Khadijah also donated the land on which the mosque was built on. Siti Khadijah's mosque is sited on 1 acre land. Since it was built in 1955, some 70 years ago, the mosque was a center for the Pantai Dalam and Kerinci communities to meet and discuss on common issues affecting the communities. But now, the mosque is in dire condition and needing much repairs. Yayasan Pillar next commitment is to raise funds to do the many repairs badly needed for the 70 years old facilities at the mosque and surrounding area. Most residents in Lembah Pantai are blue-collar workers. They are the backbones of the low-cost housing residents.
I think the flash is a bit...
During Ramadan of 2025, Yayasan Pillar team chose Pantai Dalam and Kerinci among its 6 venues to give out food aid and engage with the local urban poor communities there. Yayasan Pillar is always grateful to the volunteers from KL, Azmin Imran, Sarah, and Anna is also Pillar Treasurer. An old-timer Pantai Dalam is Imam Yahya. He's 71 years old. He had lived there all his life. Imam Yahya chatted with Yayasan Pillar the difficulties and challenges faced by both Kerinci and Pantai Dalam communities. Imam Yahya and the mosque community regret that they are not always in the position to help youth who are faced with housing dilemmas and social problems like alcoholism and drugs. One reason, said Imam Yahya, is the youth have nowhere else to go when they need to free themselves from the suffocation of tiny flats. Outside their homes is the only place youth in their teens and 20s can find relief from their sardine-packed flats they live in. Here reside those who make thousands every day or weekly and own flashy cars, and the other is those who weekly can hardly make ends meet. They are among the thousands of people who live in 700 square feet of 10 by 10 flats squeezed against each other. Many average household, he said, is occupied by 8 or more people. He described many families have to resort to sleeping on the floors of the living rooms or sleeping on double-decker single beds. We might ask, where do they study? They hardly study and cannot because there is just no way in the tiny holes where they can freely avoid bumping into each other if they move around. Outside the confines of their flats, they could breathe open space air and socialize with others of their own ages who are more likely choose to hang out outside for the same stuffy reason. Imam Yahya wished that the low-cost flats would provide facilities within their flats development where youth could spend their times in a healthy and meaningful ways. The challenge now faced by the mosque committees is how to pay for the maintenance of the mosque. One probable solution was offered by Tuan Haji Hashim, is the treasurer of the mosque, is to develop the extra land on which the mosque is built or sited, and income from there could help with the upkeep of the mosque. This is something several mosques elsewhere have already done. An example is the Masjid Abu Bakar Siddiq in Bangsa. It owns and rents out apartments which generate income for mosque upkeeps. Imam Yahya also shared with us the history of Pantai Dalam. He said Pantai Dalam is part of the bigger Lembah Pantai. Many years ago, the Kerinci settlers dominated the areas towards the hills, and the areas below are predominantly Minang community. Wherever Yayasan Pillar extend community help programs, whether it's in Sarawak, in Selangor, in KL, and overseas, we are blessed with volunteers who are always there, ready to help prepare and manage the Pillar's community help programs.